sustainable?
That's a great question. Obviously, I think it goes back to we were able to sustain some drives, converting third downs. Obviously, the defense was doing a heck of a job. I mean, giving us some short fields. We were able to flip the time of possession. I think that's a big part of it. So we know we want to play with a balance. We want to get to that number of over 50, close to 55 rushing attempts, completions. We were able to do that this week, but each week's a different story. And we want to sustain it, but there's more to it than just calling runs to sustain it. You got to do a great job on third down. You got to stay ahead of the sticks. Defense got to do a great job giving the ball back, which they did. So we think we can, and that's the expectation.
That 55 number, Pete Carroll cites that a lot. How much have you been a disciple of that?
Quite a bit. The number's always been somewhere from 52 to 55. It's over 50. I think if you look at traditionally throughout the course of league studies, if there's not some crazy amount of turnovers, if you can get to that numbers, usually you win, just because at some point late in the game you're controlling the clock, you're running the ball, you've probably got the lead, so they're playing from behind. But used it a bunch back in New York, have kind of used it most places. The number did change a little bit from time to time.
Do you view that as a goal or more of just a symptom of when you're winning, that's what happens?
No, I mean, I think it's a goal because, again, I think, you'd love to be playing with the lead in the fourth quarter. Where you're trying to run the ball, you're trying to eat up some clock, you're trying to ground out some ugly yards. Hopefully you've worn the defense down a little bit. So it's definitely a goal. It's something we talk about. And some weeks, again, you're not always going to get 30-plus rushing attempts. It doesn't always happen that way. It depends on the opponent you're playing and a lot of different things. Sometimes the weather conditions can affect things, both bad and good. But it is a pretty cool number. I think if you, again, look at it over time, it probably holds pretty true.
Runs and passes in there? Does it matter at all, or can it be 45-1?
Yeah, again, well, a 45-1 probably wouldn't be very good, but you might have really good numbers if you threw it 45 times. No, again, the balance obviously does show up. But yeah, there are certain times where the numbers are offset one way or the other, and again, it's a cool stat.
Now you've seen the offense defended both when you didn't run and when you did. What was the effect of Dallas's defense that you noticed by your running?
I think we felt like we were able to kind of, again, by staying ahead of the sticks, kind of dictate to them. We stayed out of long yardage situation. I think we kind of not wore them down, but we were able to stay and play at a physical level throughout the course of the game. We just mixed in some different tempos, which is cool. Again, each week's different. I think, hats off to Chris. I mean, how hard he ran, that was impressive. The guys up front, obviously we got Fluke back. That certainly helped. But everybody's involved. I mean, Russ is involved with what he has to do in the running game, and receivers are involved. But again, really happy for Chris Carson and how he not only ran the ball, but how he played in general. And again, just a really good young player.
How's that?
JR? JR did good. Again, I think we talked about it last week. It's new for him, but he's been around the game for a long time. He's very comfortable, very confident. Works extremely hard at his craft, and so there's a little bit of a learning curve. It's kind of like I would equate it to if you were right-handed and you kind of broke your hand, you have to learn how to write left-handed. It is a little different. It does take a little bit of time, but he did a nice job. He played well in the game, and again, it was good to see him be able to do that so quickly.
Doug look the last couple days for you?
Good, pretty good. He's always standing there by me. I think he just wants me to know that he's there. He's looked pretty good. So again, get through tomorrow's preparation and just kind of see how everything looks. But I know he wants to play. I know he's itching. But again, we'll go through the week and the process and come up with a good plan.
Especially with Doug out, how big's Tyler been for you guys?
Oh, it's been great. Yeah, he's been great. Again, he just he's always got that big play potential. I think that's one of the things that I remember just from watching from afar or playing against them. But he's been tremendous. And then again had some nice third down conversions for us in the game. He's all into this whole thing. He wants to do the Wildcat. So I'm going to tell you guys that maybe we will, maybe we won't. But he's all over me about this Wildcat thing. And so if he keeps making big plays, who knows? Maybe you'll see it.
Kansas State?
I don't know. That's a good question. I didn't ask him that. I'm gonna have to fire that back at him. I asked him where Russ was. I wanted to see if he was trying to move Russ out of the picture. He said no, he can be out there somewhere. So, but he's terrific.
As a play caller, when you're designing offense and all that, when there's only so many of those guys around the league who can have those 50, 60-yard touchdowns. What does that do to a defense when you have that kind of player?
Well, I mean, obviously, again, they're certainly aware when he's in there. You know, sometimes there's been guys like that. I remember way long ago, my dad was coaching. We had a guy by the name of Joe Horn who was a speedster. He only played in about 20 snaps, 25 snaps a game, and so when he would come in, like the lights in the stadium would shake, and the defense would be like holding up a card. Hey, here he comes! And the cool thing about Tyler and guys like that, they're in there all the time. So again, and if you're able to move them around and put them in different spots, it's hard to find them.
How much does it change things for you when you go into a week knowing that you have or could have Doug Baldwin versus when you know he's not going to be available?
Obviously, again, you know, it helps. It helps you when you're kind of looking at game plan thoughts and ideas. And again, you want to be careful that you don't overdo it because, again, we're not, you know, certain what's going to happen with Doug and will he play? If he does, how much will he play? That hasn't been determined yet. So it can be exciting, but at the same time, you got to be careful that you don't overdo it. But obviously, a great player like that, you're certainly, if he's got a chance of being active, you're certainly going to have some things for him.
You've got pretty good tight end production so far from, I mean, Bennett last
Yep.
week did some good stuff. Just what are you seeing from both those guys in terms of the receiving and how you've been able to do that?
Yeah, again, you know, the thing about Nick, he's been pretty consistent, really tough. I mean, the third down conversion he had last week is kind of we call a bang-bang play where he kind of catches the ball and the guy hits him from outside. And, you know, so just that composure, the poise going over the middle. But they're both running good routes. They're getting open. They're creating separation. I think they both, for younger players, have a really good feel for zone coverage, you know, how to attack zones and how to find an open spot. So really, really pleased with both those guys, both playing at a high level right now.
How much does establishing a run game like you guys were able to do against the Cowboys, how does that help the offensive line, the guys up front? I talked to a couple of the guys, they're like, you know, having that balance as opposed to more, you know, pass options was able to help them out a little bit. What have you kind of seen between that correlation?
Well, obviously, you know, I haven't been around many offensive linemen that don't want to run the ball. They obviously all want to run the ball. You know, again, I think it helps us all. It helps them get into a routine. It helps them get into a groove. So much of the running game is working combination blocks. And, okay, the center's working with the right guard or the left tackle and the left guard are working together with the tight end. So you do get a feel over the course of the game, just like a runner gets a feel for, you know, the more carries you get, usually most great backs have a feel for how things start to develop. The game almost slows down for them. So it's a big part of it. But again, I go back to the fact that we all want to run the ball. There's other factors that come into it, and this was one of those weeks where, again, we were able to convert some third downs. We were able to sustain some drives. But they're always on me about, hey, Shotty, give me another one of those runs to the right or runs to the left. And I love that. I love those guys that ask for it. They want it. And usually when they ask for something, it means that they're going to go make it work.
Arizona, what stands out to you with their defense?
A bunch of pressure. You know, they just bring a lot of pressure. They're playing some different stuff in terms of they're playing a lot of sub right now, a lot of nickel defense with extra DBs in the game. Obviously, the pressure numbers are really high. They've got a couple guys that they bring more than other guys, but again, they've played a couple pretty good offenses, but they cause problems just because obviously coming from, you know, Steve coming from Carolina with that package and some of the things that you're doing, it doesn't always look the same to you as opposed to like a base defense. So obviously have played against Patrick Peterson quite a bit, obviously a great player. So it'll be a challenge. You know, I mean, obviously they're a team that can get on you in a hurry with some of the pressure packages that they have.
Are they blitzing as much when they were 3-4?
Yeah, they've always blitzed a lot, but yeah, I mean the pressure numbers are definitely high right now. I mean, you look at them, you're like, wow, that's a lot of pressure numbers.
Anything else?
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir.